Panzerjäger 1. This self-propelled anti-tank gun represented Germany's first attempt at creating a mobile anti-tank platform by mounting an anti-tank gun on an existing chassis. The Wehrmacht mounted the Czech 4.7 cm Pak-T anti-tank gun onto the obsolete Panzer I AOSF-B chassis. The vehicle weighed approximately 6.4 tons, with armor protection ranging from just 6 to 14.5 millimeters. The open-topped fighting compartment left the crew vulnerable to artillery airbursts and even small arms fire from elevated positions. Because the gun was mounted high on the chassis, the vehicle had a noticeably top-heavy profile, making it prone to tipping during sharp turns on uneven terrain. Additionally, the lack of a coaxial machine gun meant the three-man crew was almost entirely defenseless against close-quarter infantry assaults. The 4.7 cm Pak-T gun could penetrate 55 millimeters of armor at 500 meters, making it effective against most Allied tanks in 1940 and 1941. The Maybach engine generated 100 horsepower, achieving a maximum speed of 25 miles per hour. Germany produced 132 Panzerjäger 1 conversions, which served in France, the Balkans, and initially on the Eastern Front. These units were organized into independent anti-tank battalions, acting as a mobile reserve to be rushed to threatened sectors of the front. However, by 1942, the arrival of heavier Soviet armor rendered the 4.7 cm gun obsolete, leading to the vehicle's withdrawal from frontline service. Martyr series. This family of tank destroyers represented Germany's most successful improvised anti-tank program, born from the need to counter superior Soviet T-34 and KV-1 tanks. The series comprised three main variants: the Martyr 1 on captured French hulls, the Martyr 2 on Panzer II chassis, and the Martyr 3 on the Czech Panzer 38T. Armor protection was dangerously thin, ranging from just 8 to 35 millimeters. The high-profile, open-top fighting compartment left the five-man crews vulnerable to artillery, grenades, and aerial strafing. Communication between the driver and the gun crew was often difficult due to the engine noise and the physical separation within the improvised layout. To compensate for the lack of armor, crews often camouflaged these vehicles heavily, using them as mobile ambush guns rather than offensive breakthrough tanks. The Martyr variants mounted either the German 7.5 cm Pak-40 or captured Soviet 7.6 2-centimeter guns, which the Germans bored out to fire standard German ammunition. The Pak-40 could penetrate 106 millimeters of armor at 1,000 meters, making the Martyr lethal against any tank it encountered. Germany produced approximately 1,700 Martyr 3 variants and 1,200 Martyr 2s. These eggshells with hammers served on all fronts from North Africa to the Russian steppe. Despite their high silhouette, they were surprisingly reliable due to their use of proven tank chassis that were already well understood by German mechanics. They remained a vital part of German anti-tank defense until the more heavily armored Jagdpanzer series could be produced in sufficient numbers. Su-76, Su-76M. This light self-propelled gun became the second most produced Soviet armored vehicle of the war, trailing only the T-34. It provided Red Army infantry divisions with mobile fire support and a capable anti-tank platform. Engineers redesigned the vehicle as the Su-76M in mid-1943 with an improved dual-engine layout and a more reliable powertrain. Armor protection ranged from a mere 10 to 35 millimeters. The vehicle was prized for its low ground pressure, which allowed it to traverse swampy terrain and deep mud that would bog down heavier tanks like the Panther or Tiger. This mobility made it an essential asset during the Soviet deep battle offensives through the Pripyat marshes in Eastern Europe. The vehicle mounted the versatile ZS-37.6 2-centimeter divisional gun, capable of penetrating 92 millimeters of armor at 500 meters. Soviet crews nicknamed it Suka, bitch, due to its temperamental and and golozyopi, bare-bottomed, because the open rear left the crew exposed. Despite these crude nicknames, the Su-76M was highly effective in the direct fire role against bunkers and machine gun nests. Its gun could also be used for indirect artillery fire, giving it a level of versatility that few other tank destroyers possessed. Over 12,000 of these vehicles were produced, making them a common sight during the liberation of Eastern Europe. Nashorn. This heavy tank destroyer mounted Germany's most powerful anti-tank gun on a hybrid Panzer III/4 chassis, creating a long-range killer capable of engaging armor beyond their effective range. The Nashorn measured over 27 feet long, including the gun, and weighed 24 tons. The armor was thin, ranging from just 10 to 30 millimeters, leaving the crew exposed to aerial attack. The gun's extreme length meant the crew had to be careful when maneuvering through forests or narrow village streets to avoid damaging the barrel. To stabilize the massive weapon during transport, a prominent travel lock was mounted on the front glossus, which the driver had to release before the vehicle could engage targets. The 8.8 centimeter POC 43/1 gun could penetrate 190 millimeters of armor at 1,000 meters, allowing the Nashorn to destroy any Allied tank at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. In one famous engagement, a Nashorn destroyed a Soviet IS-2 tank at a staggering distance of 4,600 meters. This unmatched range allowed it to remain safely outside the reach of almost every Allied gun in the field. Germany produced approximately 494 Nashorns between 1943 and 1945. These vehicles served primarily on the Eastern Front in dedicated heavy tank destroyer battalions. Only 3 Nashorns survive globally today. M3 gun motor carriage. The M3 GMC represented the United States' first urgent attempt at a self-propelled anti-tank weapon by mounting a field gun on a half-track chassis. By mounting the M1897, a 475mm gun, a version of the famous French 75, onto the M3 half-track, the Army created a highly mobile tank killer. Armor protection was minimal, ranging from 6.4 to 12.7 millimeters, meaning the gun crew was almost entirely exposed. The gun was fitted with a large boxy shield to protect the loaders, but this only added to the vehicle's high visibility in the desert. Because the half-track was wheeled in the front, it lacked the off-road pivot turning capability of a fully tracked vehicle, making it difficult to reposition quickly in tight quarters. Despite its improvised nature, the 75mm gun was effective, penetrating 80 millimeters of armor at 500 meters. Its white gasoline engine allowed it to hit 45 miles per hour, facilitating hit-and-run tactics in North Africa. Crews often operated in sections of 2 or 3, using the vehicle's speed to fire a few rounds and then relocate before German artillery could zero in on their position. By 1943, however, the M3 GMC was considered an interim solution and was rapidly replaced by the M10 tank destroyer. The United States produced approximately 2,200 units before phasing them out. Semovente da 7518. This assault gun became Italy's most effective armored vehicle, feared by Allied forces for its low silhouette and devastating ammunition. Italian engineers mounted the 75/18 howitzer in a low-profile casemate built on M13/40 and M14/41 tank chassis. Standing only 6 feet tall, it was one of the lowest-profile armored vehicles of the war. Its casemate design allowed for thicker frontal armor than the tanks it was based on, giving it a surprising level of durability in head-on engagements. The vehicle was also equipped with a roof-mounted Breda machine gun for anti-aircraft and anti-infantry defense, a luxury many German tank destroyers lacked. The gun fired Effetto Pronto heat rounds capable of penetrating 70 millimeters of armor, regardless of range. These assault guns served in North Africa, Sicily, and Italy, where their effective ammunition earned respect from Allied tank crews. In the hands of the Ariete and Littorio divisions, the Semovente proved it could knock out the heavily armored British Grant and Sherman tanks at typical combat distances. They often operated as a mobile reserve, providing a localized fire brigade to stop Allied armored breakthroughs. Roughly 11 examples survive in various museums worldwide. Achilles. The Achilles was a British adaptation of the American M10 Wolverine, replacing the original 3-inch gun with a formidable 17-pounder. British specialists converted approximately 800 M10 hulls, which required a heavy counterweight at the rear of the turret to balance the massive new gun. Armor ranged from 12.7 to 57.2 millimeters, featuring the same open-top turret as the American version. The 17-pounder gun produced a massive muzzle flash and a cloud of dust when fired, which could momentarily blind the gunner and give away the vehicle's hidden position. To help manage the recoil, the British fitted a distinctive muzzle brake that became a signature visual trait of the Achilles. The 17-pounder was a game-changer, capable of penetrating 140 millimeters of armor at 1,000 yards. This made the Achilles one of the few Allied vehicles capable of defeating Tigers and Panthers from the front at combat ranges. Unlike the American doctrine, which kept tank destroyers in separate battalions, the British often integrated the Achilles directly into armored divisions to provide immediate anti-tank support. Their presence was crucial during Operation Goodwood and the heavy fighting in the Normandy bocage. The Achilles served in British and Canadian regiments from D-Day through the end of the war, remaining in service into the early 1950s. Type 1 Ho-Ni 1. This self-propelled gun represented Japan's first attempt at a mobile artillery platform, mounting a field gun on a medium tank chassis. Japanese engineers mounted the Type 90-75mm field gun in an open-top casemate built on the Type 97 Shiha hull. The vehicle weighed 15.4 tons with frontal armor reaching 51 millimeters. The casemate was only protected on the front and sides, leaving the rear entirely open for the crew to load the bulky 75mm shells. This design made the Honei highly vulnerable to flanking infantry and close-range grenade attacks, which were common in the dense jungle environments of the Pacific. The Type 90 gun could penetrate approximately 65 millimeters of armor at 500 meters. Japan produced only 26 Type 1 Honei 1 vehicles between 1941 and 1943. These guns served in the Philippines and during the defense of the Japanese home islands. While their production numbers were tiny, they represented a significant shift in Japanese doctrine towards specialized anti-tank vehicles. Most were eventually lost to American air superiority or abandoned due to the severe mechanical breakdowns and fuel shortages that plagued the Imperial Japanese Army late in the war. One surviving example is currently located at the United States Army Depot in Alabama. TACAM series. This family of Romanian tank destroyers represented ingenious conversions, mounting captured Soviet guns on light tank chassis. Romanian engineers developed two main variants, the TACAM T60 and the TACAM R2. These vehicles weighed between 7 and 9 tons with armor ranging from 6 to 35 millimeters. To save weight and space, the Romanian designers used recycled armor plates from other captured Soviet tanks to build the gun shields. This scavenger approach allowed Romania to modernize its armored forces without needing a heavy industrial base that it simply did not have at the time. The captured Soviet 76.2mm F-22 gun could penetrate 69 millimeters of armor at 500 meters, providing effectiveness against most Soviet medium tanks. Romania produced approximately 60 of these conversions in 1943. They were deployed in independent companies to support infantry divisions, often acting as a mobile defensive line against Soviet armor. Interestingly, because they used Soviet guns and chassis, Romanian crews had to be extremely careful to avoid friendly fire incidents with German units who might mistake them for Red Army vehicles. Following Romania's switch to the Allies in 1944, surviving TACAMs fought against German and Hungarian forces. TKS 20mm. This diminutive tankette represented Poland's desperate attempt to provide reconnaissance units with an anti-tank sting. In 1939, engineers mounted the 20mm FK automatic cannon on the ultralight TKS chassis. Weighing only 2.6 tons, its tiny size made it incredibly easy to conceal in the Polish forests. The driver and commander sat side by side in a cramped space, with the commander doubling as the gunner for the 20mm cannon. Because the vehicle lacked a turret, the entire tankette had to be turned to aim the gun, requiring a high degree of coordination between the crew members. The 20mm cannon could penetrate 26 millimeters of armor, enough to pierce the side armor of early German panzers. Poland produced only 24 of these upgun tankettes before the invasion. Their most legendary moment occurred when Lieutenant Roman Orlik knocked out 3 German tanks in a single ambush. His victory proved that even the smallest armored vehicles could be lethal when used with proper camouflage and tactical surprise. Despite their success, the lack of radio equipment in most units made it difficult for TK's crews to coordinate larger defensive actions, leading to many being picked off individually. A rare TKS 20mm has been restored and is on display at the Polish Army Museum in Warsaw. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and drop a comment. See you on the next one.